So let's talk about those ads you see everywhere. You know the ones, for supplements that promise a quick fix for some nagging health issue. But how do they actually make their case? Well, today we're going to look under the hood of one called Belly Flush, breaking down its promotional claims slide by slide.
Okay, so to really get how they pitch this, we're going to follow their story. First, we'll look at what they call the heavy belly problem. Then, we'll dive into their solution and all the ingredients they claim are inside. After that, we'll see how it supposedly works overnight. And finally, we'll wrap up with the big promise of relief.
All right, every good sales pitch, every good story really, kicks off with a problem. For Belly Flush, it's all about what they call the heavy belly problem. And they start by asking a question that's meant to hit home for a lot of people.
And boom, there it is. This is straight out of the marketing playbook. Start with a super common pain point. By asking about bloating or feeling heavy, they want you to immediately start nodding along and thinking, yep, that's me. Once you feel like they get you, you're much more likely to listen to their solution.
So, now that they've established the problem and hopefully got you on board, it's time to introduce the hero of the story. Let's take a look at how they position the Belly Flush formula as the one and only solution you'll need.
And check out the language they use here. It's not just a product, it's a revolutionary formula. And the company, Simple Promise, immediately frames this as something that goes way deeper than a temporary fix. They claim it gets to the foundation of the issue.
This right here is a really key part of their whole argument. They basically create a villain, right? They call it the root cause, which they define as this nasty internal buildup. By doing this, they're subtly suggesting that other products are just flimsy band-aids, while their product is the real deal, the actual cure.
Now, that whole root cause thing can sound kind of vague. So to make it feel super real and easy to grasp, they pull out a classic move, a simple metaphor. They want you to stop thinking of your gut as this complex biological system and start picturing it as a simple household item, a filter.
And you know what happens to filters, right? They get clogged. It's this simple, powerful image they want you to have in your head. According to their claims, this internal clog is the reason for everything from bloating to a metabolism that feels like it's stuck in first gear.
And this is where the metaphor comes full circle. The visual is perfect. If you've got a clog, what do you need? You need an internal cleanup. Belly Flush is presented as the specialized crew that comes in to get your internal filter running like new again.
So, if this is the cleanup crew, who's on the team? What's actually in this stuff? The source material is pretty specific, and it breaks the ingredients down into 4 different jobs. Let's have a look.
So they frame this as a multi-step process. And step 1 is all about just getting things started. Notice that key word they use, natural. The idea is that it's not supposed to be harsh. It's just a gentle nudge to get the system going. The 2 ingredients they say are leading the charge here are Cascara Sagrada bark and Cape aloe leaf. As you can see, their whole job description is to act as natural stimulants. Think of them as the ones who, knock on the door and say, all right, let's get this party started.
Okay, so once the engine is started, phase 2 kicks in. This next group of ingredients is presented as the actual cleanup crew, the ones who come in to deal with all the stuff that's been trapped inside.
And here's who they've got on the job. They claim Senna Extract handles the heavy lifting of actually getting rid of the waste. And then Triphala comes in to manage the side effects. Specifically, to reduce the inflammation they say is caused by all that buildup in the first place.
But wait, there's more. According to the source, the job's not done just by clearing out the big stuff. Phase 3 is what they describe as a deeper detoxification, and they throw in a nice bonus promise of a metabolic boost. To get that done, they list these 3. Fennel and cayenne pepper are paired up with the job of flushing toxins, while milk thistle is singled out for its supposed role in getting your metabolism fired up.
And this brings us to the final act in their little ingredient story. It's not enough to just clean up the mess, they claim. They also need to repair the house and put up some new defenses, so to speak, for the long term.
The big marketing message here is that the whole process ends with restoration. They say Bentonite Clay comes in like a super absorbent sponge for anything left over. Then you have this trio, marshmallow root, licorice, and slippery elm, all given the exact same job, to restore and protect the intestinal lining. It's all about finishing strong.
Okay, so you've got all these ingredients doing all these different jobs, but how is it all supposed to actually work in practice? Well, the source material really emphasizes that this is all part of a super simple, non-disruptive nightly routine.
And they frame the whole thing as this easy-peasy 3-step process. You take 2 capsules before bed, and the idea is that the formula does its thing while you're asleep, when your body is already in what they call its deep repair mode. But the key promise here is that you wake up to the results without any of that sudden, uh-oh discomfort.
And all of this, the story, the ingredients, the easy overnight process, it's all building to the most important part of the pitch, the payoff. What are you actually going to get out of this? What's the big promise?
Well, what do you know? The promised results are a perfect mirror image of the problems they started with. Remember that heavy belly? Now they're promising a lighter one. Instead of constipation, you get regularity. The whole story is framed as a return ticket to feeling good, clean, refreshed, and back to your old self.
And finally, to seal the deal and quiet that little voice of skepticism in your head, they roll out a really powerful sales tactic, the zero-risk guarantee. It's a classic move to make you feel comfortable hitting that buy button. The message is just so simple and reassuring. Hey, just give it a try. What have you really got to lose? So, after breaking down this entire marketing narrative from that clogged filter idea all the way to the zero-risk guarantee, it kind of leaves us with a bigger question, doesn't it? For products like this, how much of the result we feel comes from the physical ingredients themselves, and how much of it is just the powerful psychological boost we get from feeling like we're finally doing something to take control of our health? It's a fascinating thought, and it sits right at the heart of the entire wellness industry.